to start off, could you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you became interested in fashion and textiles?
Okay, so my name's Morag. I'm from around Edinburgh and I live in Musselburgh just now, but I lived for a few years in Glasgow because that's where I went to art school and did my fashion design course there at the Glasgow School of Art. I started making clothes when I was very young, probably about 12 or something, but I was rubbish. I was so bad at it. I think my mum used to make curtains with her sewing machine, and I would try and copy her, and I was just really bad at it. But I just loved making clothes and just mashing things together, and I just found it so exciting. So, very quickly realised that that's what I wanted to do. And then once I started to learn more about the kind of processes behind fashion design, I kind of became more absorbed in this kind of intricate details of making clothes and the kind of complex nature of pattern cutting and all these different things. But then, of course, the more you learn about the fashion industry, the more you kind of realise how awful parts of it are as well. So I think more and more I've kind of wanted to not only make clothes but kind of challenge the kind of the ongoings of the fashion industry as well, and all those kind of the obsolete nature of fashion as well. So doing upcycling projects like this one was really exciting, an exciting opportunity to kind of reframe what people think about what clothing should be, how it should be made, and what it can be made from as well. So yeah, I have no idea if I've answered your question there.
No, that was fantastic. So I feel like what you're saying is like, as well as like an interest in clothes themselves, there's a huge interest in the process in which clothes are made that you have. And so like I saw on your Instagram that you kind of do these amazing illustrations as well. And I was just wondering if you could talk about like where you start your own design process and your own practice. And does it begin with a drawing? Is your process the same every time? Do you start with the garment? Like, how does that work for you?
It's changed quite a lot over the years in terms of what's kind of inspired the process. I mean, sometimes it's been things like a toy or a children's something, or maybe it's like a graphic or something that's kind of inspired that process. And I would start by drawing things, or maybe it's just I've acquired a fabric and thought, wow, what can I make with this? But I think more recently, for the last few years, I've been interviewing people, which is why this is really weird because I'm usually the one asking the questions. But basically, I run kind of interview-led projects and workshops, which is now kind of formed an organisation. But all of these conversations about where we ask people about their relationships with their clothes, that now kind of informs a lot of the work that I do and the kind of design processes as well, because I'm really interested in that relationship we have with our clothes and all the kind of, because of course clothing plays such a significant role in our understanding of self and the world around us. I think there's some really beautiful stories that have been told from people about their experiences, whether that relates to just the very kind of mundane everyday act of dressing or the kind of complex relationship between clothing and society and changing identity. I think there's some really interesting conversations there, and that's what often inspires the kind of next process in design. But again, it's down to fabrics and what's available as well, because I don't really like just going out and buying fabrics. I prefer to kind of accumulate random bits and seeing what I can make from that. I think that's a lot more challenging as well.
I was going to maybe move on. We can talk a bit about the collaboration you've done with ReMode. So you were sent an upcycling mystery pack. And I was wondering, could you take us through what it was like receiving the package, your initial thoughts, what was in it, and kind of how you started your design process or your making process?
Okay. I think when I initially got it, I was actually quite nervous because I haven't done an upcycling project in a very long time. And I think it's really difficult upcycling because often you have to deal with things like stains, kind of smelly things, and also you're really restricted in terms of what you can make as well, because it depends on what kind of shapes of materials you have, what's there. But actually I think that's what makes it more fun and more challenging as well. So I was quite nervous because I thought, oh no, what am I going to make? But I think as soon as I took everything out of the box, I think it was just a case of, well, I'm just going to have to literally cut everything up and then see what's there, kind of lay it out flat, and then work out from there what I could make from it, because it's actually quite difficult doing it when it's still a garment, because I got two woolen jackets, so I basically just ripped them to bits and then kind of
Amazing.
ironed them all. Yeah, exactly. And then just kind of decided quite quickly that it was going to be kind of reconstructed jacket from that. And then just played around, cut up a pattern so that, because obviously there was old pockets within the design, the original jacket as well, so it was kind of making shapes that fit around those kind of cut out areas as well. So I kind of wanted to ensure it was like a fusion of both, but it still kind of looked like it was meant to be. It wasn't too much of a patchwork, if that makes sense. Yeah. And there was also a couple of bits of silk as well, so I make quite a lot of pocket bags, just because I like making them. I like having things to put your things in, so I thought I would just add in a little pocket bag to go with it as well. Wee pop of colour. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm just having a look at the images now. It's gorgeous. It's so cool how it's like feels sporty, even though it's like this woolen jacket. It feels super modern.
It's funny, I was looking at it earlier and I was like, it kind of looks like farmer boy / concert pianist. It's like doing the Secret
Very
5 and then
niche audience.
I know.
You found a gap in the market, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely. And so what did you think about the materials you had in the upcycling pack, and what was your approach there?
I think Carolyn was very nice to me because she obviously gave me fabrics that kind of fit in with what I usually work with anyways. So I was very grateful with that. I really, really love working with wools or wool kind of fabrics, so that was really nice. I've never worked with a dogtooth print before, so that was quite interesting. Also, I think at one point I was trying to match up the lines of the dogtooth, and it's just like there was just no point. It was too difficult, because obviously you're working with such small pieces. So that was quite interesting. And again with silk as well, it's such a beautiful fabric, so having little bits of that was really nice. I think I lined the jacket as well, so I took a picture of it kind of inside out so you can see, so that had to be a bit of a patchwork, which was quite funny trying to work that out. And also because my dog ran off with one of the pattern pieces, so I was chasing her around the house trying to find this bit of fabric, so there might be a tooth mark or two in there. But yeah, I think I think with me though, with linings though, I think they were proper lining fabrics with it, which is not what I usually use, because for myself I find lining fabrics quite sweaty when you wear them. I think obviously with this kind of thing you'd be wearing something underneath anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But no, I think I really enjoyed it actually, just kind of trying to work out how they would all fit together in terms of the print as well, because it's quite difficult working with a printed fabric, I think, and making it look nice and not too, patchworky.
So obviously we had to like send the package to you because we're being socially distanced these days. And I was just wondering, you kind of touched on this a bit earlier about how it's kind of, the pandemic kind of has changed your relationship to how you dress. But I was just wondering how, on any kind of wider sense, how the pandemic's affected you and how you think it's affected fashion.
But I think in terms of the fashion industry, it's been total pivotal, and I really hope it has as well, because I don't think the fashion industry needed that. I'm not sure if it's going to change or go back to kind of the same unsustainable timetable and processes, but I think just kind of watching things like I can't remember what it's called, but when the designers all signed that pledge to stop working in such a fast season as well, I thought that was really interesting. But then there's also, I'm not going to go into that too much. But then, and also just kind of seeing people kind of think differently about how their clothes are made and how much they actually need as well, because obviously people kind of realize, well, actually, why am I buying this much during this time period? And I don't know, so much has changed. It's quite difficult to kind of summarize, I think.
Yeah, of course. Uh-huh. And I guess just to round up our conversation, would you be able to talk a little bit about perhaps maybe how you imagine the future of fashion is going to be, how you would like it to be, and anything that you're going to work on next?
Ooh, okay. I think in terms of the future for fashion, it's really
Mm.
interesting. It's because I think especially as designers start to adopt more digital
Mm.
fashion as well, which is like a whole new scope, and it's
Mm.
completely mad, but it's really interesting as well. I think it's going to start looking a lot more online, and we're going to see a lot more things online, things digitally. But then I think in terms of um how the fast fashion scope of it, and what would be amazing is if we saw more of this kind of either really, really, really fast fashion where you have things that are like clothing that's biodegradable or just really quick and can be like food waste or whatever, made from food waste and can be disposed of and recycled or whatever really quickly. And then that compared to really, really slow fashion where things are made really beautifully and made to last and made almost like heirlooms,
Mm.
things that you expect to keep for a very, very long time. And it'd be really nice if we saw a mix of those three things within the fashion industry. I think that would be amazing and start to kind of lose this idea of fast fashion. I mean, that's the ideal, isn't it? It's getting rid of that. But it's just, it's such a wide topic and it's so difficult to imagine what it might look like, but
Mm.
hopefully something interesting,
Mm.
diverse and inclusive as well, of course.
Yeah. And so what's your next project then this year?
Oh, okay. I'm working on I'm just trying to get back into making actually, because I've now set myself up so I can actually make things properly, having not been
Mm.
able to for a few months. So that's really exciting. I'm hoping to make kind of small runs of things, little products that are also kind of relate to the interviews and the storytelling
Mm.
aspect as well. So I've got some collaborative stuff coming up, which I'm really excited about. Working with arts and cultural organisations who are kind of, again, it's a mixture of fashion design and education, I suppose. So using kind of design products to get people to rethink what fashion can look like and what it can be. What else are we doing? We've got some really exciting work coming up with Warren as well, and we're trying to work on a mobility project, which will be really exciting and I hope works out. But obviously with Abby and I, we work alongside this as well, so trying to juggle everything's a bit of a mad one. But I'm hoping just to continue making things and kind of challenging what it can look like and challenging the obsolete nature of fashion, because that's what this is all about, really. Woo.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, on that note, I'll stop recording the interview. Thanks so much for joining us, Morag, and thanks for your gorgeous jacket that you've made for ReMode.
Thank you, I loved it so much.